Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down. Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachakwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Now, the title of this video is based on a scripture that comes from the book of Revelation. And that scripture in particular is a prophecy, a future prophecy, which is going to take place. And the reason why this country is going to go out in violence is because this kingdom was founded and it was built upon violence. And a matter of fact, this is the book of Micah. Bear with me for one moment. The book of Micah, chapter 2. Actually, this is the book of Nahum, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "Woe to the bloody city." Now, in order for a city to be bloody, some sort of violence would have had to have taken place. And the only way blood can be shed is by violence. So the reason why this place is called the Bloody City is because it was founded upon violence. This land was stolen by violence. Disease warfare, Gatling guns, murder, torture, rape, and all manner of unjust acts against the indigenous people of this land, like the so-called North American Indians, the so-called Taino Indians, which will be the Puerto Ricans from the tribe of Ephraim, the Seminole Indians from the tribe of Reuben, the so-called Native Indians are from the tribe of Gad. So this land is covered with the blood of the Israelites, and that blood came from violence. That bloodshed came from violence. It is full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. And we are the prey. Okay? The Lord said that he will give us to our enemies to be a prey unto them, as it is written, which will be a part of the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, where the Lord said that we shall have none assurance of our life. Well, somebody who is a prey don't know when they're going to be taken by the predator. So this entire land was founded upon violence. So indeed it shall go out by violence. What has America done throughout the entire planet since it's been into power? It has done nothing but violence. World War II, what was that about? Violence. The War of Vietnam, violence. The Cold War, violence. But that's not all. World War II, violence. The fact that America have sent economic hitmen into these other countries to stir up chaos and cause people to shed blood amongst their own people. Who's responsible for that? America. Now this is the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you. How have America rewarded the whole world? by dropping bombs on other countries, shooting drone missiles on people, killing off civilians with guns, rifles, heavy artillery, disease warfare, human experimentations. This is how America have rewarded the whole planet. So reward her even as she have rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works in the cup which she have filled to her double. So what these so-called white people, the biblical Edomites, starting with the so-called white people, starting with the so-called elites on down, what they have done, they're going to have to pay for that double in the kingdom of heaven. As a matter of fact, this is the book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 1, verse 6. Seeing then it is a righteous thing with God, his name is Yahweh, to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. So it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. So because of violent acts against our nation, well, they're going to have to pay for their crimes, starting with the so-called elites and the rest of their nation. They're going to have to pay for the rest of their crimes, and they will pay in the kingdom of heaven when they are our slaves. And that's going to be in the kingdom of heaven. They're going to build up our kingdom, and they're going to get a foot up their ass sideways. Starting with the so-called elites and the rest of their nation, which are Edomites. They're going to be slaves in the kingdom of heaven. Now, this is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So after the Edomites served their 1,000 years of slavery in the kingdom of heaven, they're going to be exterminated, eradicated from off the face of the earth. And there's not going to be another red bastard walking on this planet ever again. Now, this is the book of Habakkuk, or Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 4. I'll start at 4. Behold his soul, whose soul? The soul of the Edomites, starting with the so-called elites on down. Behold his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. So the soul, which is the spirit, is not upright in Edomites. That's why, like it tells you in the book of Psalms, chapter 58, verse 3, they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. You know what? I don't even need to get it. Habakkuk 2, verse 5. Yea, also, because Esau, Edom, the so-called elites, because they're the ones who have control over the whole planet, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. So this man never stays at home. He's got his military all over the world and in every country. Who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. This man is as death. Okay, I work at a chemical plant called Goodyear. And they got these harmful chemicals. If it was to be dumped into the ocean, it would literally kill off all of the marine life. Like, this man is just death. And he loves destroying, debuilding. Why do you think they have pesticides, herbicides, humancides? Because this man is as death. But again, they're going to have to pay for all their crimes. And they will, as it is prophesied in the Holy Scriptures. But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Now, this is the book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse, I believe it's in the 25th verse. Yeah, I mean the 3rd chapter in the 25th verse. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done, and there is no respect of persons. So the Lord's not a respect of persons. Okay, he don't give a damn if you go to church and you jumping up and down like you got a Caesar. And look, if you're an Edomite, you're going into slavery. And the Israelites, which are the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Indians, starting with the elect of them, the elect of the nation of Israel, when they get that spiritual power, they're going to bring great dread and terror upon you, you cave beasts. And then you shall know that the Lord have always loved his people, like it tells you with Revelation. Now, this is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 21. It says, Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall be passed through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. The cup represents slavery. And ultimately, that's what's coming for the Edomites, the nation of Edom. Okay, slavery, starting with the so-called elites on down to the rest of their people. You're all going to be slaves in the kingdom of heaven. Matter of fact, let's go to, because as this kingdom was built upon violence, it's going to go out in violence. Now, I know it's in Matthew the 10th chapter somewhere, but okay, let me see. I wish there was a faster way to find this. So, you see, Matthew chapter 10, verse 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. And what is a sword used for? Is it some kind of instrument that you put in a museum behind a glass cage so people can look at it and take pictures and, ooh, wow, that's a beautiful blade? No. A sword is an instrument used for causing violence, rather if it's for murder or to put somebody in a critical condition. But it can even serve as a warning sign. Like, don't mess with that person because that person is armed. But 9 times out of 10, when somebody got a sword, it's intended for violence. So when Yahushua come back, he's coming back to do violence. As you have done to the nation of Israel, it shall come upon you Edomites. It shall come upon the nation of Edom, Idumea, which is the Greek way of saying Edom. So Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus, when he come back, he's coming back with a sword. And it's going to be a sore, it's going to be a sword to make a sore slaughter. Because the amount of killing that who the world calls Jesus, his name is Yahushua, the amount of killing that he's going to be doing, you're not going to be able to record it in the book. You're going to try to type in the numbers on the calculator and a question mark is going to come up. So think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. So this kingdom is going to go out and it's spiritual, because when you read Isaiah the 34th chapter, it speaks about how the sword of the Lord shall be bathed in heaven, and how it's going to come down upon Idumea. The main sword is going to be those intercontinental ballistic missiles, which is going to be the carrier of multiple nuclear warheads. So you can better understand. It's going to be the carrier of multiple nuclear warheads. So this is the book of Numbers, chapter 35, verse 33. I'll leave it off with that. Numbers 35, verse 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land. Why do blood defile the land? Because this land is the blood defiled the land because the blood was shed through violence by way of the enemy. You see, what you Jakes out there do not, what you Israelites out there don't understand is that we have an enemy, an adversary on this planet. Okay, he's the devil. You're looking at him every single day. Okay? You might have even shook the devil's hand yesterday. You might have smiled at you, gave you a promotion. Okay, but it says, I gotta hurry up and close it out because somebody's about to come in. But it cannot be cleansed of the blood but it can only be cleansed by the blood that is shed therein. With that, I would like to say Shalom is on to the next one. Good morning.